Welcome back, everybody. I'm going to talk about facilitation right now, and I want to share something that is kind of upsetting to me with you and talk about what we can do to do a better job with facilitation. So we'll consider this another Facilitation Friday talk. Welcome back to World Drum Club. Whew, you guys, sometimes we see things, we hear about things that we just disagree with, and I realize that sometimes it's considered in poor taste to speak up or to push back against, people in the field, and it can be construed as negativity. But here's the thing, you guys. They say if you see something, say something, right? So this is kind of the same thing, and I've been thinking about this for a while, and I feel like I need to say something about this. Now, backstory is I read something in a book that was authored by somebody who, is positioning themselves as an expert in music facilitation, drumming facilitation. And I was shocked that they actually recalled this story. Now, I don't know if the story's true or not. That's not the point. It doesn't matter who the author is, doesn't matter what the book is. The point is this idea, and I want to tell you about that right now. And the point is I feel like it's just very wrong, all right? What I read and the story and what this person did as a facilitator. And I want to not only say that I disagree with their choices, but I want to give you other options so you can do better, all right? That's the goal here. And I'm not going to say who it is. Don't even guess. I'm not going to say it because that's not the point. All right, so in the story that was written in this book, the author describes a situation where they were facilitating group drumming, and there was one person in the circle who had their head down. I think they had a cap on. They said they had a baseball cap or something, and they're looking down and they're playing, and they're not looking up and paying attention to the facilitator who wants to do something, like wants to change, right? Wants to do some conducting. And so according to the story, the facilitator decides that they're going to teach this person a lesson about paying attention, and they give an abrupt stop cue, right? They stop everybody, and then this one person, bless their hearts, is left there drumming by themselves. And then apparently, they sort of wake up, look up, and everybody's looking at them, and they are like, oh, sorry, and then according to the facilitator, according to the story, they learn their lesson, right? Okay, you're going to learn to pay attention to me because you obviously need to be constantly looking at me, right? Because I'm the facilitator. Now, the next part, I'm just going to guess as to what this person must have felt, all right? The person who was sort of left hanging out by themselves, drumming alone, right? After everyone else stopped, because everyone else was doing a good job because they were paying attention to the facilitator. But before I do that, I want to back up and just say that, look, if somebody's drumming in a circle, if you're having, a group drumming experience, and somebody's really into it, and they're sort of lost in the music, even if they have their eyes closed or if they have their head down, first of all, is that a bad thing? Is that something that we need to fix? All right, so that's question number one. Question number two is how we want to do that. And question number three is what happens when we do what this person did in the story, supposedly. And is that a good thing or not? Is there a benefit to that? Is that necessary? All right, so imagine yourself, you're drumming in a circle, you're playing along, and nobody's told you have to look at the facilitator all the time, and you're just having a good time, you're playing, everybody stops, and then you look up, everybody's kind of looking at you, and you realize that you're alone, and I would feel maybe pretty embarrassed, all right? Just called out, oh, what did I do? What did I do? Even though I don't think the person was doing anything wrong, and you probably would feel well, what was I doing? I was just playing along, and now everybody stops, and, then you have this kind of interaction. So and I don't know, I'm just guessing they might have felt embarrassed, shocked to a degree, and maybe even felt some shame as a result of that interaction. Now, that's terrible if that's the case. I don't know if it is or not. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just, imagining how would you feel. I'm thinking about how I would feel. So I was shocked that this author even shared this story, because to me, this isn't a lesson this isn't something that I would recommend that anybody do. In fact, I would recommend that you never do that you don't do that. And because there are better ways that you can facilitate, and create change. If your goal is to bring things to a stop or change the music, there's other ways you can do that are not so punishing potentially to one of your participants. So there's that. We have to remember, you guys, that conducting, and sometimes people use the word facilitate as a synonym to conducting. In other words, I facilitated a stop. Well, conducting is a command, all right? And conducting is not negotiable. So it's a command. When you do this, or whatever you do to stop the group, they have to do it, right? It's very controlling. And if somebody's not paying attention, that's not on them, right? That's like on you, because you're the one that's deciding, especially if you use it in the way that this person in the story who was telling this story was using it to like teach somebody a lesson, right? So it's a very aggressive, it's a very aggressive technique. Now, I'm not saying you should never conduct, right? We use conduction or conducting for various reasons at various times. But if you do it in a way that's like that's very almost punitive, right? And you're using it to make a point at somebody else's expense, all right? That, to me, is not consistent with creating a safe and supportive environment, all right? You can say you're doing something, you can say you're creating a safe and supportive environment, but if you do stuff like that, I don't believe you are creating a safe and supportive environment. I mean, safe and supportive for who? I mean, you as the facilitator. So I would never do that. I feel like it's just embarrassing somebody and leaving somebody, out to dry is not the way to do it. Now, what else could you have done? What else could that person have done in that situation? First of all, you have to ask yourself, what's needed right now? Is it important that everybody stop playing right now, like abruptly stop, right? Is that even a thing? Like if you're running out of time, yeah, maybe. But if everything's fine, then just leave it, right? There's no reason to fix something that ain't broken, as the saying goes. Number two, there are a lot of ways that you can facilitate and really facilitate, not just command people to, but actually facilitate a ending or a segue or a shift or change in the music, such as just like allowing things to naturally slow down or get quieter, like kind of let entropy take over. You could purposefully play slower and try to drag the rhythm down or lower the volume through the music you play to reduce energy and bring things down. You could do the opposite. You could speed up until there's a rumble. You could just stop playing yourself and encourage other people to randomly choose to stop playing. All of those things are musical interventions that don't require, one, people to look at you, and two, people to follow your commands, all right? They invite a voluntary response of how people want to participate. Now, if somebody is not participating and playing along with the group as a whole, that's a different situation. But that's not the same as pulling the rug out from somebody. So there are options there. I mean, and you can also get people's attention first, with maybe a call or do something, so that if somebody is kind of in their own world, they have a chance to at least break out of it, or just like signal to somebody sitting next to the person, hey, could you like tap them on the shoulder or something? I mean, there's a lot of things that you could do before you resolve to or resign to shocking somebody's system like that. So I don't recommend that you do anything like that, like where you sort of call somebody out, pull the rug out from somebody, leave somebody hanging to teach them a lesson. That's one of the main things I want to talk about in this. The other thing is you really want to ask yourself why you're doing what you do. Remember, facilitation is about, helping people play together and helping them be successful. It's not about manipulating people and making them do whatever you decide they should do, right? That's not facilitating. That's just dictating what people do. And while there can be some benefit in taking a sort of behavioral approach, right, like just making people do certain things, so hopefully they will realize how to participate. I would say that is a limited. That should be a very limited strategy in your overall strategy of facilitation, and it's kind of a last resort. And if somebody's being disruptive, which I don't think this person was in this story, by the way, they weren't being disruptive, they were just playing along. If somebody is being disruptive, then you want to address it on the side, privately, one-to-one, and not make it a big public thing, because what does that do? That creates, like I mentioned earlier, it creates a situation where somebody could feel embarrassment and shame and just not want to play. And it also sends a signal to other people in the group when they see that happen that they're not safe either, that they better not get lost in the music and really enjoy themselves too much. They better always watch the conductor, right, or the facilitator or the commander. You better be paying attention. Like, that to me is not a desirable situation to have. Like, when I facilitate, I try to make myself useful but not important to them. You know what I mean? Like, useful and supportive but not important, because it's not my circle. It's not my music. I'm there to help, not to command and control. All right. Before we start getting into beating a dead horse territory, and hopefully I'm not there yet, I just want to thank you for, listening to this argument. And of course, this is just my opinion, but it is based on 40 plus years of facilitation and music and training and lots of hundreds and hundreds of events and courses taught and all sorts of things. If you have a different opinion, that's fine. Put it in the comments. Make your argument. Make your case. If you have anything to add that could be useful, like I mentioned a couple things that could be helpful as an alternative to that particular action that person who told that story took, leave it in the comments. If you'd like to connect with me more and learn more and ask questions or give your feedback, if you have something you think I should be learning, rather than do it in the public forum, connect with me on patreon.com/Kalani, and I'd be happy to hear you, to hear what you have to say. All right, you guys? Because we're here to help each other, and I hope I've helped you. And if I have, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you guys in another video. Thanks for watching.